And scientists in Iceland are issuing a new warning amid a major volcano eruption. They say toxic gas spewing into the air could reach the capital and surrounding communities.
Imagine waking up to a world turned upside down, where the ground beneath your feet trembles and the sky glows an ominous red. This isn't a scene from a movie. It's the startling reality for thousands in Iceland. A volcano has awakened with a fury, altering lives and landscapes in an instant. What happened when the Earth split open? How did a nation accustomed to the whims of nature react to this unforeseen disaster? Stay tuned as we uncover the dramatic and heart-wrenching story of survival, resilience, and the raw power of Earth.
The eruption is more of a splutter than a great fire fountain now, but the authorities are still nervous. We've been kept well away because they fear it could burst back into life.
Located between the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates, among the largest on the planet, Iceland is a seismic hotspot because the plates move in opposite directions. The eruption is about 30 kilometers from Reykjavik. Keflavik International Airport is somewhat nearer, but remains open. The Blue Lagoon, a geothermal spa popular with tourists, has been largely closed since the seismic activity was detected. It could potentially go on for several months. It could also just stop later today or tomorrow, said Halldór Geirsson, an associate professor at Institute of Earth Sciences at the University of Iceland.
This initially 4-kilometer long fissure has localized into two active areas now, so two cones that are building, but the intensity is definitely reducing. It may continue at this rate. It may also increase in its rate or may open up further along the actual fissure system. So it's quite a dynamic and evolving kind of system.
Lava flows had decreased from 250 cubic meters per second in the first 2 hours of the eruption to around a quarter of that by Tuesday morning. Most of the lava was flowing into an area where there was little infrastructure, Geirsson said. That could change. There is still a threat to Grindavik for sure. Now the lava is flowing mostly to the north, but it depends on the topography and where the openings are, he said.
Well, it's very cold, first of all. Iceland, no surprise there during the wintertime. Also, it's hazy at times. But out at the volcano site, you still see the orange glow from the lava that's been shooting into the air. And that's one of the sites that people have been wanting to come and see, despite the warnings from officials for people not to do that. And there's a couple of reasons for that, Diane, because while the eruption has diminished or decreased in its intensity, there is still a risk that it could reignite again, if you will, or that the winds could change. And we've heard so much about the potential for the air quality to reach dangerous levels. And so if the winds change and you're close to the eruption, that could be a very dangerous place to be.
In 2010, ash clouds from eruptions at the Eyjafjallajökull volcano in the south of Iceland spread over large parts of Europe, grounding some 100,000 flights in Europe and beyond, and forcing hundreds of Icelanders to evacuate their homes. Weather Forecasting Service. AccuWeather said this eruption was very different. AccuWeather chief meteorologist John Porter declared, "If little to no volcanic ash is lofted into the atmosphere, there may be no impact to aviation." The 2010 impact on air travel was largely caused by the interaction of magma with the melting water from a glacier, a different scenario to what is happening now. Matthew Watson, professor of volcanoes and climate at the University of Bristol in Britain, said it was not impossible that there may be some impact on air travel, although it was unlikely. This type of eruption doesn't generally produce much ash, which is what tends to ground planes.
But, to the site, the police has been really helpful with media. They've let us up to a kilometer away after, the initial closures when it kicked off day before yesterday. So, but you can see Reykjavik, the town of Grindavik there on that shot. So you can see it's really close to public areas and where people live. So, but it's been quite interesting in the last couple of days.
Unfortunately, the hope that had ignited in the hearts of many about the possibility of celebrating Christmas at home in Grindavik was extinguished when the eruption began yesterday. Grindavik Mayor Fannar Jónasson said in a statement addressing residents.
Compared to the other 3 eruptions in the last 3 years, there were less of them now, simply because this was so far away, and the police closed everything down instantly. We, the member of the media, we were allowed to get in and you know, film. But this was just like this shot. This was just taken like maybe an hour after it erupted.
Hans Vera, 56, originally from Belgium but living in a house just east of Grindavik since 1999, had hoped residents would be allowed to return for good, or as long as is possible on a volcanic island. That all changed when the eruption finally arrived. I don't see that in the near future they will let people get close to Grindavik, so we are back in the waiting game, he said. He described his home near the sea as a winter paradise, and said the prospect of not being able to spend the Christmas holidays there with his family came as a blow.
It is very, very powerful in the beginning. It's going to extract the magma very, very fast, and that's why it's going to decline fairly fast.
Fascinating to see just nature in action. It's just like something from a movie.
From what we can tell, it seems that volcanic activity on Reykjanes happens in pulses. So yeah, 800 years ago there was a series of eruptions that took place all along Reykjanes at different times, one after the other, with some significant time in between, like decades. And so in 2021 we had the first eruption since medieval times. But in fact in 2020 there was an intrusion detected underneath Thorbjorn, so potentially that was the start of this new episode.
Oh, the power station is more like there, where I pull it.
We had this intrusion going on just north of Thorbjorn, in this area here, and we could see this inflation going on in the GPS, and so this is saying that the ground is moving up with time, and then this dramatic shift is the evening of the 10th of November, and what we can see here is that the ground has dropped by around 40 centimeters, but crucially the signal of inflation has continued without pause.
Stay ahead of the volcano with our latest updates. Hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you're the first to know about volcanoes, floods, and other natural disasters. Your safety and preparedness starts here. Join our Eco Havoc community today. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think.